All right. So I guess now you understand what the plan was.
Absolutely. At Colts Law, we talk Indianapolis Colts football.
We're going to stick to what we know, fundamentals and technique, 1% better every day.
What up, Colts Nation? I'm Lawrence Owen. With me as usual is Loyalist. We got Joe here from Patreon. Buddy, I could hear like birds and stuff in the background really loud.
All right,
I don't know if you could turn the sensitivity. If you could turn your sensitivity of your mic down, that would be better. You know, and you won't pick that. Yeah, perfect. You're awesome.
It's a different animal with this thing. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah,
nice.
I know.
Well, we heard a lot of animals.
I thought we was out in the jungle somewhere in like Venezuela.
Hoorah.
Great that I see a bunch of people in here already. Some people in the live chat, but I got some shout outs to do real quick because Brian Walton, you donated $10, dropped $10 in the donation jar this morning. I wasn't even awake yet. Wasn't live streaming or nothing, but as you can see right over here on the other side of Loyalist on my list on the stream. Now these guys here can't see it, but you guys watching definitely can. It shows there. Now he says there's an article saying Pay is developing into a dominant pass rusher. With that, do you see the Colts tweaking the defense to hide the weakness of our cornerbacks? And here's the thing about that. I don't know if it really needs any kind of tweaking. That's the thing about our cornerbacks. They're meant for zone defense, right? And in order for zone defense to work, you have to have a pass rush. So Quiddy developing into a dominant pass rusher just rolls into what they want in the first place. Because that forces a quarterback to throw before receivers and stuff are in the spots that they need to be in. So, it's not really a necessarily, tweaking to hide the weakness because the Colts don't play man. They do, but not nearly as much as a lot of other teams out there, right? Zone is more for turnovers and things like that, but you've got to have a pass rush to force the quarterback to make bad decisions. But I get what you're saying, and yeah, I've seen multiple articles. Loyalist will probably be talking about Pay here in a little bit because he was at the practice today. But, man, I appreciate the donation jar drop. And then on top of that, I need to shout out Martin Hazel because 5 hours ago, that's right, it even comes down to exactly when it happens. He purchased one of my T-shirts and one of my hats from the merch shop. Dude, thank you so much. Hope you enjoy those. And, while we're here and you bought the merch shop, I'm going to go ahead and hit the merch shop button right here on my clips because it's a good segue. Make sure to check out the Colts Law merch shop. The link is in the description of this video. There are a ton of high quality, reasonably priced items there that you can choose from. And all you got to do is just click one button and you can go and check out all these great merchandise items. What's up? Okay, I see. I'm going to shout out these people. Oh, Joe was like, no, you ain't seeing me what I'm doing right now. Shout out everybody that's in the chat right now with Truett and Alpha Wolf and Fuzzy Whistler. Ant Rogers, what's up? You don't think you're buying a Madden this year? Well, I think a lot of people are in that same category with you, bud. Stansberry's in here as well. Appreciate you. Anthony Hurt. Wentz season. Just can't get excited about Sam Ellinger. He just doesn't excite me. We'll probably be talking a little bit about him today as well. And Brandon Wood, what up? Appreciate you being in here. Millsap's in here. John Davis, what's up? Julian Pollings, what's going on? All right, so first and foremost. Oh, and Stansberry has something to say to Joe. He says, I want to see Joe grow those mutton chops out a little bit more.
Hey, I'm working on it. You should have seen him a year ago. I look like Lemmy Klimster, except without the long hair.
All right.
I got you, and my girlfriend likes him too. So
there you go. KDC City's in here. MJ 567. What's up? Glad everybody's in here hanging out, man. Not only in here 5 minutes, got 20 people on the stream. Thanks so much. Teddy Belcher's in here. What up, 4K? It's not preseason without Colts versus Bengals. Yeah,
Exactly.
We don't have that this year, do we? That's weird. We didn't have it last year either, so it wasn't preseason last year. So, but of course there was no preseason last year. But that's pretty funny because usually it was Colts versus Bengals year after year after year after year. Oh, whew. Man. So we're sitting here now. Ross said that he might stop by, but right now it's his mother-in-law's birthday. So shout out to Ross's mother-in-law. Hope you have a great birthday and you all have fun over there. He said that if he's got time, he'll stop in afterwards, but it just depends upon how long we're live today, right? Don't forget, you could hit that like button, subscribe if you're not subscribed, and tag that notification bell so that you're notified when we go live or upload a video. And that donation jar link is right there in the description below if you need to get something out and you want to make sure that your question or comment is brought up and we get to it. So well, I was getting ready to ask Joe something, but he decided that he's going to jump out. Joe,
I'm here, brother. I'm here.
Week 2 of preseason. We're going to get to the Colts training camp and practice in a little bit. I want to know, who are you most excited to see this preseason, whether it be team or player?
Oh, the team or player? Well, I mean, I'm obviously going to go watch the Steelers game this Saturday. I thought Dwayne, the guy I was really, really the most interested in seeing this preseason overall was Dwayne Haskins, and he looked terrible first game. He looked terrible in the Hall of Fame game. Everybody looked terrible in the Hall of Fame game. It's hard to get these guys motivated for that game. I know that, but he looked a lot better in their second game, preseason week 1. In particular, I also want to see some more of Kwity Paye. I mean, because I don't have the opportunity to, because I was so high on him coming out of Michigan, and I thought he would be a great addition to the Colts. That's the guy that I really want to see more of right now is Paye. I just haven't had a chance to. I'm 5 hours away from Indy, so I can't. Every day like you guys are doing. But
I get you, man. I understand. Loyalist. Now, obviously, I know you can't wait to see the Vikings Colts game, but is there another game this weekend that you want to kind of keep your eye on? Just whether it be because you're interested in the team or there's maybe a player or something on there that you kind of interested in a little bit.
Well, I'm sort of that one-track mind guy right now, so I'm interested in watching. Outside of the Colts, I'm interested in watching Seattle or seeing what LA looks like. Some of our earlier games, see what these guys, what their depth and stuff is like, and I'm interested to see what happens with the tackle situation there in Seattle. Because we keep talking about how our DNs are beating up these underwhelming tackles for the Colts. You know what? If Brown don't make it week 1, he may see more of the same, week 1 and during the regular season. So I'm just interested in sort of keeping tabs on things like that.
I get you. Alpha says he's 12, almost 13 hours away from Indy, so I understand that. Looks like Teddy wants to see the Chicago game, so that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Chicago, where I live, because I live kind of in between Chicago and Indy, there's a few Bears fans, in my area. So yeah, I understand that. Yeah, my dad's a Bears fan. But my dad's my dad's a Bears and a Packers fan. I don't know how you could be a Bears fan and a Packers fan at the same time. It doesn't seem logical to me. That's like being a Ravens fan and a Steelers fan at the same time. That would not work out, right?
Now, I will say this about that kind of dual fanship. This is where people sometimes get on me. I'm like, okay, and this even went back to like hockey this year when a buddy of mine from Connecticut was rooting against the Islanders because he wanted the Lightning to win. And I'm like, dude, okay, listen, the reason why I was rooting for the Islanders is because it was their last year in the Memorial Coliseum for one thing. I would have liked to have seen that cup. I know this isn't football, but in terms of fanship, and plus they beat the Penguins. So I want to know that I got beat by the Super Bowl champs. I want to know that our team lost to the Super Bowl champs. I want to know. So if the Ravens beat the Steelers, I'll root for them. I'll root for him because it's kind of like a guy from your neighborhood saying, okay, he might be the guy that, stole your bike the other day, but I'd rather have a neighborhood guy pick up the hardware than some guy, a random dude from wherever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I get that. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, if we get beat in the playoffs, obviously I'm rooting for whoever beat us because, that's a sign, I mean, at least we lost to the Super Bowl champs. Now, if they get beat, but we still have an AFC South rival in there, I mean, I want to see the rivals do well, I mean, it's our division. And what that does, it just makes your division look better overall, I mean, across the country.
Exactly.
So, you don't want to be like the AFC South was for years and years and years, just, the bottom feeders, or the AFC East, being the bottom feeders for years, where now, you get teams out there that are, 2-3 teams that, are going to win 9, 10, 11, 12 games in a season and go somewhere in the playoffs. That'll give you a little bit more respect for your team, for your record, on the regular season, because you could be 13-3, but if you're the Patriots from like 4 years ago, 13-3 didn't mean jack because 6 of those 13 wins were gimmies, I mean, that's how it was.
That's how when the Colts first got here in the mid '80s and stuff. That's how I did it. I mean, because it wasn't like I had a whole lot to hang my hat on in the early years, So I was like, okay, how did we fare against this playoff team and this playoff team? I mean, and I had to get my validity that way because, like you said, you look at the record or the end result, it's like nothing to get too excited about.
Oh, wow. We got a bunch of people in here they want to see the Jags game because, Brandon's not sold on Lawrence. Yeah, so that's interesting. Now, I'm not sold on any rookie when they first come out. You got to see them for their first year, I mean, yeah, he definitely looked like the best quarterback coming out of college over the last few years, best quarterback coming. We knew he was going to be the best looking quarterback last year, in the last draft. We was like, wait till Trevor Lawrence comes out. We already knew this, anyone who watched college anyhow. So, I mean, that is what it is. Let's get into actually why we're here. I mean, we're 15 minutes into this and we ain't even talked about Colts camp today. That's interesting. Loyalist, you were there today, which means, and I want to put a disclaimer on this whole, you're closer than I am thing. Loyalist is much closer than I am. He could literally ride a bicycle down there and hang out. Well, maybe not, but still.
No, I was going to say it takes me an hour and a half to get there driving. So I ain't riding a bike that far.
All right. Well, a lot of interesting stuff from camp. A lot of people were talking about the quarterbacks. They split today, right?
Mm-hmm. You're right.
They split reps, and both didn't look too bad, right? From what I understand, Easton did have an interception, but apparently it was when Pascal fell down as he threw it, right? And they ended up getting picked off, and that was Pascal's fault because he fell down on his route, and then it ended up getting intercepted. So, but other than that.
But I will say on that particular play, Isaiah Rodgers was in a real good spot. And you could see that was how Pascal fell down. I mean, they were battling, you know what I mean? And he just lost his feet. So, yeah, I mean, it was one of those tight window throws, but I do agree that if had Pascal kept his feet, it would have been a better result.
Better result than an interception?
Yeah.
The only way it could have been worse if it was a pick six. I mean,
well, that was the bad thing about it. I would say that Isaiah probably would have took it a good 80 yards because we were actually in red zone when that happened. So, yeah. Yeah, it was one of those, like I said, he was inside the 5, lost his footing, and Isaiah was like, let's go. Where's the house?
Yeah. So there's been multiple times throughout training camp where, so the narrative on Jacob Eason is he has stone in his shoes. He's not mobile. He doesn't move around. Or he can't move around is what the narrative is from local media. And there's been multiple times where we've seen him scramble, move, He's picked up 15 yards right up the gut once, before anyone came close enough to, tag your it, because you can't really tag a quarterback, in practice. But apparently he scrambled for a touchdown today.
Yeah, he was rolling out to the right, and, I seen him roll out to the right 3 times today. First time he rolls out to the right, he puts this one right on Tyler Vaughn. And it looked like Tyler Vaughn got his hands up about a half beat too late. Next thing you know, poor Tyler was in concussion protocol. Because that ball hit him right then. The second time, I mean, like I said, Jacob, rolled out again and also just dropped another dime. I don't remember who that was. Sorry about that. But then the third time that I seen him roll out, everything looked the same. He rolled out and just didn't see anybody. All of a sudden, he just plants that right foot and just straight to the goal line. And I was like, okay, I haven't seen that. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say he was Naheem Hines, but I mean, he planted that foot and went with the mission and easily got into the end zone. I was just like, that's interesting. And one thing I've noticed is I'm sorry?
How far out from the goal line were they?
Line of scrimmage was the 8. So 8? Whenever he started, So he was within the 10, but like I said, just seeing him show that initiative. That's just something, like you said, we really haven't, because even that one earlier in camp where he came up through the middle and stuff, it was just one of those where his back, everybody was covered, and it was just, it all opened up, and boom, he went. This one, like I said, he was rolling out, had nice pace, was running close to the sideline. He just made a decision, and he looked really good doing it. He looks really good going to his right. I haven't seen a whole lot of him rolling out to his left, but when he's rolling out to his right, he looks like he's a lot more comfortable than what he was, camp 1, camp 2.
I want to take a quick mention of that's a big deal because of Eason's arm. Cornerbacks and linebackers are not going to collapse down on him and break off of their coverage because they know Eason's got a freaking cannon, and he can hit somebody if they come off coverage just like that. So they're not going to collapse down on him even though he's got some room in front of him to run. They would have to legitimately wait until, like you said, he plants his foot and crosses that line of scrimmage before they go after him. So, unlike, say, Ellinger, who can scramble, and they will most likely collapse on him a little quicker because he doesn't have that cannon to get the ball in the tight spaces on an instant notice. So,
yeah,
good point.
Ellinger is going to have to do what TJ, like when TJ Carey on Sunday's game when he fell off his route and started going on quarterback. Ellinger is going to have to capitalize on that, loop it up over the DB then, and make him pay that way.
All right, so our pass rush, a lot being talked about our pass rush this week. especially since we didn't get but like one sack, and that was Ivy, guy I didn't even really see much in practice this past game. But there was a lot of pressures, and now we're going to see first team versus first team. You know, you're going to see Grover Stewart out there. You're going to see DeForest Buckner. You're going to see Kwity Paye. You may not see Teray. I'm hearing that he's a little bit banged up.
And I'm not so sure that we'll get to see a whole lot of DeForest either.
Yeah.
Because I know the coaches said that he wants a lot of the starters. But, I mean, even today in practice, he was sharing a lot more reps today than what you would normally see.
Yeah.
So I'm not 100% sure that we'll get to see a whole lot of DeForest.
I'm sure he'll get out there and play a little bit, but maybe not a whole lot. I mean, this isn't like the 4-game preseason where the third game is when a lot of your starters play a lot, you know, and then the fourth game they don't play at all, right? But I expect a little bit since it's the middle game out of 3, hopefully. But Kwity Paye come back from injury this week and has apparently looked pretty darn good. What have you seen from Paye today?
Yeah, I just like you said. I mean, he came out and I didn't get to see him yesterday, as you know, but today you just seen him. He was out there and he was working on some stuff, but I'm not real sure. It just seemed like he was really working with his hands and stuff. You know what I mean? And for some reason that jumped out a lot to me. And like I said, I seen him get over on Tevy one time that was just like, you know, poor Tevy. I don't know what it is about that combination, but he you know, he looks really good against Tevy. And but yeah, like I said, he was the whole defensive line was just constantly in the quarterback's laps today, especially once you got past the first string O-line and stuff. You know, I mean, you've seen a lot of the rotational guys coming in, and they were getting a ton of pressure. Him and Banigou, I think, basically they were just taking numbers as, you know, who's going to get in the backfield first. You know, I mean, it was interesting to see. And that is something else I wanted to mention was Banigou was out there today, and I was really trying to focus on what it was that I was seeing different with him over the last few days, and I finally realized his handwork. You know, I mean, the rip. I mean, I sat there and watched him, you know, repeatedly just ripping off. You know, the as soon as the tackles made contact with him, he was just ripping it, and just speed and power and then ripping it again. But his handwork was just remarkably improved over what we saw at the beginning. You know, so that was the big thing I noticed. Kwity did have one where Davenport stood him up, and then Kwity wiped him out, and then Davenport reset, and then Kwity went to, you know, wipe him out again, and I don't know what Davenport like pulled his hands away, and Kwity just sort of fell forward. So I think he learned a little something there, like, okay, you know, I mean, even with the swipe, you got to keep your balance and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But all in all, like you said, I mean, the defensive line definitely was winning the day again, as they have basically all can.
Now, do you think that that's more of an indictment against who the Colts have starting at the offensive line, or do you think that's more? It's kind of hard to gauge, because from my perspective, I think it's really important, particularly for a rookie like Paye, to be able to go in there and get some confidence against people, so he can start to, you know, like do his and get into a routine.
Yeah.
I'm just, you know.
I would say it's 70% RO line, 30%, you know, just improvement on Kwity. Because, like I said, I went in fully expecting Tevy or Holden to win the first spot. Davenport probably not even make the lineup. The more and more I watch our tackles, I mean, Davenport for over a week now has been getting the run with the ones, you know, basically shortly after he came off protocol, you know, COVID protocol, you know, and Tevy, guys, I know we spent the biggest dollars on stuff, but even in that recording today, I was like, man, Tevy is just winning his way to number 3 like a bullet, because a lot of the time, even today on the right side, he was getting beat. And I was just like, this is just no good. You know what I mean? And like I said, in my mind, I thought it was going to be Tevy Holden, like 1A, 1B. And then I was absolutely not a fan of that. Well, everything I saw today and, you know, what little bit we saw during the game Sunday, Davenport is, he's doing better, you know, and hey, his first practice without an offside penalty. I was ecstatic to hear that because that's something that just drives me nuts. But a second thing with Quiddy is he is so adamant about when he's working on something, he just focuses on that thing he's working on. He's not worried about beating an offensive guy. He's really not. You know what I mean? So I think, you know, like whenever he was swiping that, you know, working his hands and stuff, that was all he was focused on. He wasn't concerned as did I get to the quarterback or did, you know what I mean? So I would say, like I said, 30% I would give it to Quiddy and just his improvement. But unfortunately, the other 70%, I'd have to put it to our lackluster at the tackle position at this time.
Well, I mean, Eberflus did say that's pretty much what he wants from Quiddy during training camp is to just, you know, no matter whether you win or lose, you're not trying to win or lose against them. You're working on that one move the whole day. You know, get that move down today, and then tomorrow we'll work on something different. You know, just keep working on one specific thing, whether you win or lose with it. Just keep working. That way, you know, I mean, like you said, Davenport will get used to it, and he'll figure something out to counter that. Well, that'll force Quiddy to learn with that move and expect that counter. You know, so doing that is actually a really, really good thing to do it over and over and over, and kind of get his feel for what can happen during a game. Multiple different things that can happen during a game. Also, to your point, Joe, I think we're going to more find out this Saturday against the Vikings on whether or not it's more of an indictment of how good the defensive line is or how bad the offensive line is. You know, I do agree with Loyalist that our offensive line right now is a little wanting, but then again, we're not really playing our starters either. You know, it's mostly backups versus starters, and that's not a good sign. You know, that's never going to be good, and no matter what you're playing. Yeah, I'm man. I heard that Danny Penner didn't have his crutches on today. That's a good sign.
Yeah, that was a real good sign. Yeah, he still had the boot on, so it wasn't like, you know, he wasn't, you know, protecting it or whatever. But yeah, it was really nice just to see him out there and walking fairly. I mean, looked like he was fairly pain free. I know those boots can mask a lot, but you know what I mean. Yeah, I'm so happy to sit there and think about, you know, having this kid as our backup in the interior, because he is one that, as you know, Lawrence, and I mean, he's one that's really impressed me with that year 1 to year 2 step. You know, I mean, him and Chris Reed are really going to help solidify our depth on the interior line to where I think, you know, we can get this tackle situation sorted out. Our line, I think by the end of the year, everybody's going to be able to tip their hat to Chris Ballard and say, good job with, you know, building up that depth and getting us some good, solid, you know, like he says, you know, number 8, number 9, they've got to be able to play as good as starters too.
Well, yeah, and this training camp, this practice, this is the reason why. I mean, you never know who's going to get hurt, you know, how many people's going to get hurt, and you don't know whether your name's going to be called or not. You were going to say something before I jumped in earlier, Joe. You got an opportunity here?
Well, no, it's just that, and I do agree with you 100% about how, you know, you're playing basically guys you expect to start against backups, people you do not expect to start, who just come in and provide depth for you and can kind of hold the fort down while your starters are dealing with whatever issue it is that they're dealing with. But at the same time, you're talking about, you know, a rookie for one thing in pay. So I feel like it's a mix of both. It's good and bad. And I feel like it's a good thing for pay to be able to get that kind of confidence, to get into that technique, to get into that routine, so that he can kind of ramp up and he can kind of get warmed up, so to speak, because and then you talk about preseason and how there was no preseason, and then the lack of hitting, and then how guys get in football shape now. Like it's going out there and getting hit. It's going out there and hitting. That's what gets you in football shape. So it's an interesting. It's a really interesting dynamic. I want to see. I agree with you. I want to see how it plays out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and one thing with Quiddy also, we talk about his discipline with, once he's starting to learn something, and continuing to stay disciplined and focused on it. I've noticed that he is probably one of the more consistent DNs that we have right now, as far as when he sets the edge, and that's his job. He's setting the edge. There was a play today where it was like Easton was going through, and it was like the fourth progression. Okay, and I mean, you've seen Easton. He started all the way over on the left side of the field, and he was no, you need pump fake, and then finally he finds a running back out on the right flat, and lo and behold, as soon as the running back caught that pass, Pay was right there because he was in his position. He didn't collapse in. He didn't follow, anybody else going the wrong way. That's something that really drives me nuts is when a DN gives up the edge. I can't stand it. It's like, you know what? You're giving them all that extra space, and you're like the last line of defense. You're like the safety for the D line. You know what I mean? It's like you can't give that edge up. So whenever these guys do, it drives me nuts. And I'll tell you right now, Quiddy, for me, has been very consistent about making sure that whenever his job is to set the edge, he is doing just that.
Well, defensive ends ain't always set like specifically for the edge. They do a lot, but sometimes you'll have your nickel corner, be that guy. Sometimes you'll have your will be that guy. It just depends. Now, generally, it is your defensive end, but like if there's a specific play where the DE is on a stunt, well, he can't be your edge setter, right? Then that's when your will or your a cornerback or even a safety will kind of come up on that outside box. Yeah. So, we just gotta keep an eye. Truett asked a question saying, could Quiddy learn the spin move? And Truett, that's a good question. I haven't seen him work on that yet, but that is like I said, our Matt Eberflus, our defensive coordinator, has him work on one specific thing until he gets it down, right? Perfectly down to where he's happy with it. Generally for the entire day. Sometimes it takes multiple days of doing that. And I personally have yet to see him, work on a spin move during practice. Have you seen that yet, Loyalist?
No, and I'm thinking that that's probably one of the later things because, think about it. When you start doing that spin move, now you're losing your integrity with the run game and stuff. And I got to believe that as far as your defensive end and the way the Colts, their culture is, they always want to stop the run as they're going to get the quarterback. So I can't really see. I have not seen him working on it, and I don't imagine that they're going to be teaching him a bunch of that stuff right now, just for the simple fact that, he's got all his assignments he's trying to figure out. And once you start doing that spin move, that opens you up to get a little abused in the run game.
Depending upon when you use that spin move. If you're using the strong arm, and you're at the very top edge of the strong arm, to coming around the edge, and you got your arm out there, just straight on.
Come back, yeah.
And then use that spin move to cut back inside. But when you're on the outside edge, you're still holding your edge, and you can use that spin move at the same time. But that's a specific time and place to use it for something like that, and that's also I think that's more of a later thing as well because. It's not just upper body. There's a lot that goes in with that. When you're running a spin move, your footwork has to be dead on perfect, or you're on your butt.
Core strength is a big one for that.
Mm-hmm.
That's and that footwork. That's what made what Freeney did during the Super Bowl so impressive with that bum ankle. You know what I mean? Being able to. Yeah. So that footwork's huge. I don't know enough I don't know enough about Quiddy to know, does he dance like what do they call that, a dancing bear or whatever? I don't know. Because really, you've just seen the straight on and the hand fighting and stuff. We really haven't seen anything, even stunts and stuff. You haven't really seen a lot from Quiddy, at least not that I remember. It's been a few days other than today.
Now, I don't mean to backtrack very too much, but on that scramble, that 8-yard scramble by Eason, do you recall who was in the backfield at the time?
Oh, as far as the D line?
No, as far as the running back situation, who was in the backfield?
Nobody. It went to an empty backfield. Like I said, the play was designed as play was designed as a rollout. The play was designed as a rollout.
So it was not necessarily a bootleg, but it was a rollout.
It was a naked rollout. Yeah.
That's impressive. That's impressive. That's something that I wouldn't have expected to see after watching Eason in week 1. I mean, yeah, that's and I'm sure he got drilled on that this week. So that's interesting. I'm just curious.
Well, also, we're seeing where Frank Reich is talking about how Eason now they're working on him stepping up, and we've seen videos of it where he's not going to do those big long drop backs and stand back there. And if he does, he has to step up a couple times, in his progression, early in his progression. They've been working on that to where, he's not getting so much of a drop, and if he does, then he steps up a little bit to give his tackle a little bit more breathing room on how much room they can give when dealing with edge rushers. So that's a good sign. I do want to talk about something else. Strawn's been brought up a lot over the last couple of weeks, and I hear that Eason and Strawn had a little something going on today.
Guys, I tell you now, I told Lawrence because he informed me earlier before the show. He's like, "Hey, I'm going to just take this audio because I always record audio, and then I'll email it to Lawrence so he can hear what's going on or whatever if he couldn't make it, and then have an idea, So today I said that I emailed it, and you could hear me just during the play because I was sitting there, I was like, "Oh, hit him!" And as soon as the second time I said hit him, Eason just releases this pass. And the Colts, I noticed right before we got on, the Colts had sent a clip of it out. But, Strawn is about 3 yards deep in the end zone. And he's 6'5", so he's jumped and he's stretching probably 7'2", and caught this perfect. Guys, this looked like a Peyton Manning to Marvin Harrison type. Just the timing, the placement, the everything. Oh man, don't get me going. I'm telling you right now, this Strawn thing, man. I'm trying to keep myself at bay, but every day you go in and you see something, you're just like, and and this is, it was one of those that, like I said, you would see on highlight reels. I think, every, the following weekend and stuff. It really was the timing, the placement, just everything about the play. Like I said, I saw it. I seen it developing. I was just like, "Oh, hit him!" And the second time I yelled it, man, that ball just went out there. And
what the ball look like? Was it a rocket? Was it have a little touch to it? What would it look like when he threw it?
A duck?
No. Right now, Jacob doesn't. Jacob is not Peyton Manning as far as he doesn't throw hardly any of these balls that look like it does. But no, I would say the ball was climbing. Yeah, the ball was climbing, but it didn't look like it had a bunch of speed on it. It had enough to get it up over the linebackers. But the ball was still climbing. Like I said, it just looked like it had the right amount of zip on it.
How far was the throw?
Like I said, it was about 8 yards, 8 to 10 yards.
Oh, that was a rocket then. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he caught it about 3 deep in the end zone, and it was just like awesome.
Ball placement. I have been all over Eason about when he throws passes, he generally throws a pass to where only his receiver has a chance at it. Was this a similar situation, or did it look like, it could have been contested?
No, sir. Like I said, this thing was This thing was 7.5 feet in the air. I mean,
It's like
he was
catching
Sean
it or
absolutely,
nobody.
yeah, or the guys over on the other field. It was fun.
All right.
Well, yeah, if you look at the ball he threw to Strawn on that skinny post last week, if you look at that ball, it was the same exact situation. And we were debating in our last stream on Monday, whether that was he just put too much mustard on the ball or whether he's like, I'm not going to throw an interception here.
Yeah.
And like let my receiver go out and try to get it. So that's another thing I do like about him.
He doesn't generally throw a lot of picks. When he throws the ball, interceptions generally come off of misreads or something like that. But when he sees or deflections or the receiver falls down, but generally when he throws the football, he's incredibly accurate, and he has like specific placement, especially with Strawn, that we've noticed that he's going to throw it up there and let him go get it, because obviously when you're 9'7" and you jump up in the air to get a ball, and a cornerback has got your arms pinned to your body or something, that's pass interference, and you're going to see something like that, right? If both his arms don't come up to catch the football, obviously there's holding and interference somewhere, so that's something that you want to, that he's using to his advantage, I think, when it comes to using Strawn as a primary receiver.
I would like to mention something real quick, by the way. One of the plays that not a lot of people I've noticed we're talking about. We sit there and we talk about how Easton sometimes overpowers interior throws where there's a lot of clutter. Today they ran a screen off to the left, and Colin Granson just nestles in, and Easton throws him this little like 3/4 arm pass or whatever. But I mean, it was one of those where it's like, from where I was sitting, I was trying to figure out who he was getting it to, and then all of a sudden I see Granson just catch it. And I mean, this was a screenplay, guys. It was every bit of, it was going to be, no matter what defense was, it was a 15, 20-yard open. I was just like, okay. I mean, it was one of those that was so cluttered you didn't even see where it was going, and all of a sudden he just sort of Houdini'd it out to him, with where there again, Granson just sat there and took it in. He didn't drop it. Go Colin, and yeah, I mean he looked like Dallas Clark running through the field, weaving through and stuff. I mean, it was really 15.
Good point.
Yeah,
and that's a really good point too, because then we talked about this earlier too, with the hey, I say it, but the height difference between Eason and Ellinger, and having that vision to be able to see hats, to be able to see where the hats are at out there. So I think that contributes a great deal also to that type of ball placement.
Yeah, that actually Kevin Bowen, guy who covers the Colts yesterday, was talking about how it was the first time he had noticed, like specifically noticed, that Ellinger's height was a problem for him, right? That he was not seeing the whole field. And I was saying that for the last couple of weeks, and I said something to Kevin about it, and then he started looking for it, and he's like, I'm noticing that now. He's not seeing everything. Amber Webb, hey, I see Amber Webb in here. Appreciate you being in here. Thank you. Guys, we're almost 45 minutes in. Really? Time flies. Well, when you're talking about stuff you enjoy talking about. Guys, don't forget to smash that like button, please. Hit subscribe if you're not subscribed. Tag that notification bell. Don't forget about any kind of stuff that you want to ask a question or something. There's that link down there in the description right at the top. And I guess it's a good time to drop this. And if you want to help support this channel, you don't have any money, but you want to do more than just hit the like button or subscribe, well, it's free to click on a link, download an app. We get paid cash for it, and it's free for you. And all you got to do is click this link and give us a follow. This video is sponsored by Newsbreak. Newsbreak is an app used over 1.5 billion times a month by people just like you, to get local news via articles or videos by those who are focused on that specific area. People like myself. Just use the link in the description of this video to download it. Then search a city, state, or someone specific, like myself, Colts Law. Then make sure to follow them so you'll get all the news fresh as it comes out. Yeah, that link to Newsbreak is right there in the description as well. Just like Patreon. Joe is a member of Patreon. Why is he on the stream, you ask? Well, he's a member of Patreon, and he's a cool dude. He might be a Steelers fan, but, dude, he's a football fan, and that's all that matters, right?
Everybody here is a football fan. That's why we're all here, and we all talk about, we and sometimes on these streams, we talk about all different kinds of stuff, but I'm trying to keep it more topic specific tonight because I know you had another thing that you wanted to get to in terms of the defense and how we're going to handle pressures with the secondary and all that kind of stuff. I didn't want to interject or anything, but that was an interesting topic to me. So I'm kind of curious to hear what your thoughts are about that.
Oh, about the Brian Walton thing and then I kind of went into that about the pass rush and stuff. Yeah. So the pass rush, we're talking about how our Colts run a lot of zone defense, whether it's cover 2, cover 3, whether it's split, doesn't matter. I've seen cover 1, not very often. Colts don't run cover 1 very often, or cover 0. God, I hope I never see cover 0. Not on this team. Okay, so we got good safeties. But anyhow, but we run a lot of cover, a lot of zone defense, and what that is they're not specific against one receiver. They sit in a spot. They got an area that they have to cover on the field, right? Depending upon, what type of coverage it is. And their main job is to watch the quarterback. All right. They drop back into their spot, into their zone, and turn and look right at the quarterback. Now, they have to have a good peripheral vision to be able to see who's coming in and out of their zone so that they can kind of slide this way or that way depending upon where the quarterback is looking, right? This is one of the reasons why Patrick Mahomes throws no-look passes, right? Especially in zone. You ain't going to do that against man coverage because that's an interception, But in zone, no-look passes, where you're looking straight ahead, you throw over here, because you're using your peripheral, that's how he's fighting that zone coverage. But generally, guys aren't able to do that. You just have some really, really good guys that are able to do stuff like that. But the key to making a zone coverage work, because in zone, you have holes all through a zone. And if given enough time, Jim Bob Joe Carpenter III, quarterback for the high school Huskies, would be able to make a completion against an NFL zone coverage. Okay? That's just facts. Okay? You just got to have enough time and a receiver to find an open spot, and then all you got to do is throw it there. And anyone could do it. I could probably do it. The key to a zone coverage is your pass rush. You have to get to the quarterback and force him to throw before they're able to get to those spots. That's what's so important. And that's why we need to know, is this pass rush that we're seeing from the Colts this offseason, is it legit? Is it because they are that good? Is Kwity Paye and Banagoo and Teray, are these top dogs out there and going to get pressure all the time? You don't have to get sacks. Get pressures. Pressures forces bad decisions, right? And, that's how you end up with interceptions. That's how you end up with, throwaways or, whatnot, just incompletions, whatever it is. So this Saturday against the Vikings, we need to see specifically that. Because we were able to get pressure last year with our pass rush. I mean, Autry, Houston, and all them, they were able to get pressure. They just weren't able to land home as often as a lot of people wanted. But they were able to get pressure, and that's why we ended up like, what, second in the NFL in turnover ratio? I think we were right behind I think the Steelers were number 1, weren't you? I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
There was.
Yeah, and the Colts were number 2 in turnover ratio because of specifically that, getting pressure on the quarterback, using your zone coverage to get interceptions or whatnot, you know. So we need to see, can they get pressure? We have the speed to close. That's the reason why we let Houston and Autry, in my opinion, go. They're over 30. They're slowing down. They weren't able to close in and get the sacks. If they could beat their guy on the offensive line, they have the speed to turn pressure into sacks. But they got to be able to get the pressure first. And that's what we're going to be watching for these preseason games.
Yeah,
now,
because
Go ahead, Loyalist. Go ahead, buddy.
Oh, I was just going to say, our interior guys, I mean, it's no joke. Grover and DeForest, we've got the interior. But like Law said, we're really curious to know if, and you didn't mention, but Al-Qadim Muhammad, these are guys that we've really seen.
Taekwon Lewis.
Starting. Yes. I mean, these are guys that we've just seen starting to really come into their own. And it's sort of interesting because, I sit there and I think about the Bandana Goose situation and we're like in this little balancing thing now. Is he going to follow the footsteps of the Taekwon Lewis and have this big breakout year, and I'm not talking about, massive numbers or anything, but just breakout year, just being consistent, being, knowing that your team can count on you to get some pressure from the edge. And something to, you say Brian Watson was who asked that question?
Brian Walton.
Okay.
I think hold on. Let me check real quick just to be sure. Yep, Brian Walton, who donated 10 hours ago.
Well, he sits there and he talks about our cornerback play, and I'll tell you right now, everything I've seen from our cornerback. Today we didn't have Xavier Rhodes, we didn't have T.J. Carey, we didn't have Marvell Tell. Okay, you still got an interception from Isaiah Rodgers. Yes, the receiver fell, but he was in position. Secondly, Rock Ya-Sin made by far two of the most. One got caught, but it was, after he had deflected the pass, and the second one was on a rollout from Easton. Easton threw a strike to Pittman, and Pittman's like right here getting ready to catch it, and all of a sudden Rock just, bam, swipes it right out from his grasp, And I was just like, I'm starting to see some, promising signs. Like I said, people were worried that Xavier Rhodes was going to fall off a little bit, and I guess I was sort of listening to that a little bit. But I'll tell you right now, ever since he came back from COVID protocol, when he's out on that field, guys, there's energy. You can just see him and Kenny Moe, and these guys are really connected and working much better in the communication. The communication to this last week versus what we saw, week 1 of training camp or the end of last year. I just think that our secondary is going to be better. And then on top of that, I do believe that our pass rush is going to be a noticeable improvement. Or, like you said, if, hopefully Flus can mask some of that with some blitzes or something, So a combination of 3, I think our defense has a real good shot of starting where they left off last year.
And getting away maybe from some of that 4-2-5 that you're talking about and masking, hey, you have a Sam who can cover. You have, a guy who can go out and maybe even police the flat a little bit and get, and not necessarily ball hawk or not necessarily, swat a ball away from somebody, but just get their hands in somebody's face and disrupt the play. And that's the whole thing, even with your pass rush, even if that doesn't translate directly into sacks. If you can get back there and disrupt the timing, just like Lawrence was saying, if you can get back there and disrupt the timing of these routes for a zone coverage scheme, that's where you're going to get. I think that's going to translate more directly to turnovers in the secondary than it necessarily will in terms of sacks, because sacks to me are more about field position. So I now that I'm seeing, because I had some concerns about Rock too. I saw the talent that was there, but I had a lot of concerns about Rock because he was so grabby last year. And if he can kind of get out in front of that and get his legs in front of him before he goes, and now you're talking about he's just swatting balls out of the air. That's what I thought he was going to be able to bring to this defense.
Yeah, I was just going to say real quick, that was a red zone play also. Our red zone defense looked really good. I mean, they had to take throws to Strong, 8.5 feet in the air and stuff. It required that to score against this red zone defense today. So I don't want to make it sound like they were playing soft or anything by any means.
And it is and all over the field. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I just want to
Next
make
thing you know.
one more comment about that, and I think it's really interesting that you mentioned that. Tom Brady was one. He was the bane of zone cover. He was the bane of the zone blitz. He was the downfall of Dick LeBeau. Let's just put it that way. As much as I hate to admit that, because he could just pick you apart. Because he could just pick you apart. And the Jets actually of all teams with Rex Ryan at decon, D coordinator, he was able to implement a similar scheme with utilizing man coverage on the back end to compensate for a guy like that who had that peripheral vision, who could just look off receivers and zip the ball in to an area of the field that nobody knew that he was looking at. So you have that. That's an outlier though, but you have that where you know. And so to me, the big thing about the running zone, being able to tackle in space, that is like the number one thing for a zone defense. You've got to be able to tackle in space, and don't let the guy get behind you.
Yeah. And
That's
that's
it.
what the Colts have been really good. I mean, you look at it, our safeties, our cornerbacks, they're all physical, good tackling, our linebackers. I mean, yeah, we've got a lot of good physical hitters out there. So that definitely falls into the what we're hoping to see from them.
That's
You just gave
programming.
somebody the instruction how to build a Trojan horse for something.
Yeah, so he's a programmer. So I remember them days. Too. Yeah, no more. No
And
more.
my mic
Yeah, we
wasn't
better-
on.
We better get into the chatter, else you're going to start getting a bunch of people,
Yeah.
putting them in at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning just to make sure they get them answered.
And thank you. I'm at the top of the chat, getting ready to go into chat. Been talking this whole time. Ant Rogers donates $5, super chatting $5 to let me know that my mic was off and I needed to turn it on. So thanks, Ant. I appreciate that a lot. Do you think our pass rush rank this year? Oh, where do you think our pass rush will rank this year? I think we have good defensive backs. How can you catch? Oh, that can catch a lot of picks. Ballard loves ball skills. And first off, shout out to Ant. He's the original dude. He's my first Patreon subscriber, right? Big time
Absolutely.
shout out. He's been here since the beginning. And he's also watching my back because I didn't realize that my mic wasn't on. My mic is on with them, but it's not on with the stream, okay? Because I was coughing so much that I turned it off while Joe was talking earlier. So I didn't want to interrupt, for other people hearing. I don't know yet. With the pass rush guy. I agree with the whole thing about, we have cornerbacks that have ball skills, but I don't know how long that I've been muted. So it could have been back when I was talking about, I think that our pass rush, getting ready to see the pass rush this coming weekend, find out how good they really are, because that's how important it is. This pass rush is kind of the bottleneck of the defense. This defense is only as good as this pass rush will be, right? And like we said, it's not all about sacks. It's about pressure, right? Sacks are nice. They're a stat that goes in a box that you could go, look, I got this many sacks this year. It sucks that pressures aren't a stat that's like a general thing that everybody can see anymore. Quarterback hits are now. And I guess that's a pressure, a type of pressure.
They need a create the chaos category.
Right? When DeForest Buckner just manhandles somebody and pushes him out of the way and gets in the backfield as the ball's, changing hands from center to quarterback, that's a pressure. I don't care if it's a handoff to the running back after that. That is a pressure. Because that's pressuring everything. He's in the backfield disrupting, So I can give you a little bit better idea to your question, Ant, after the Vikings game. Because we didn't see any starters in the first preseason game. So we don't know what our starters versus other team starters are going to look like until this Saturday, where we're going to see some starters playing. And I can't really say, well, our pass rush has looked unstoppable in practice because, our offensive line might be the 34th best offensive line in football. Yes, I said 34th. Well, what we're playing right now, they're all backups. So, do I think they're going to be a bad offensive line? No. I mean, the starting group, when they get out there, they're still going to be a top 5 offensive line. They just got to get healthy. MTS, Matt Stansberry with a $10 dub in the donation jar. Thanks so much. Don't sweat being muted. Half of us have had you muted for most of your show.
Oh, wow.
Keep up the good work. I'm just kidding.
Oh, my God. Stansberry.
Oh, it's all good, man. I appreciate it. Appreciate you being in here. Clean code all the way is what Nomadic Brian is saying. That's great, dude. I'm serious, Matt. I'm going to copy and paste that and post that response on Twitter. Okay, Merry Christmas. Matt said he's running clean code or Nomadic Brian says he's running clean code all the way, pulling things from 4 tutorials. Got to keep track of what I should or shouldn't. Blah 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 blah. Dude, don't get me wrong, Brian. Coding's hard. I tried coding. I did. I ran C+ and X and A. Okay, for a while because I wanted to do gaming coding, and I found out real quick I'm not any good at it. So I figured I'd just leave that to guys who are really, really smart. And apparently, Brian, you are a really, really smart dude.
I remember them days. I wrote a couple of MUDs back in the day. I actually integrated. I'm a certified database developer. I haven't used those talents. I haven't used that skill in years. I've worked in IT before, but I mean, like, you can come up with the most genius thing that you want to do with that. One comma out of place, and the whole thing is garbage.
Yeah. One
you gotta
wrong
go back
thing.
And track all that. It's a night. I do not miss those days. I miss those days, but I don't miss those days.
Well, isn't that also why most companies they have multiple programmers and they set each programmer to a specific thing so that you can find out and know and be able to kind of collapse in on where a problem might be a lot easier than just having one guy do a whole bunch.
Yeah. And then the manager's life is pure hell.
Yeah.
You're sleeping in the office trying to figure no. Just I'm done. Nope.
That was the one thing my son hated because in school they're giving him introductory and stuff, and he's like, "Oh, I enjoyed doing the coding, Dad." He goes, "I just hated the troubleshooting." He's like, he always hated trying to figure out what he did wrong.
Right. So I'm in the chat right now to where we were talking about the Strawn rocket, and then it just boom dropped down big time. All right. No sound, Lawrence. Lawrence, we can't hear you. No sound, muted. Where'd the audio go? See? There we go. I'm at that point now. All right. Remember, Law, I told Rock not to listen to the haters, True, it says.
He did too that day.
Yeah. I'm a Patreon, and I couldn't hear for a while, Fuzzy says. Lawrence, sound's not working. I got the message, but it was a little late. It's because Lawrence is back. I'm back, yay! All right, okay, getting ready.
You guys have to understand. You guys got to understand. Lawrence is a little new at this. He'll work it out.
When I mute myself, I got to remember to unmute myself, and I can't believe that I just. They would have been able to hear you guys. They just couldn't hear me. I'm typically. Stansberry is a trenches and running back fan. What part of the game? It seems like Joe is in full agreement here. It's what he likes too, the running game in the trenches. I think that's Loyalist as well. Am I?
Absolutely. I like the old big hog mollies, watching the game inside of the game, and the nice thing is this year, I've been paying more attention, so hopefully I can give better details to you guys and stuff. So that's like seeing Banagoo with the hand drills and stuff, and seeing Taekwondo Komoko and stuff. It's been like an eye-opening experience for sure.
Absolutely. Try building a computer. I built computers. Okay, this computer I have right here, I built from scratch. Right, I just took all the parts, put it all together. That's easy. That's hardware. Hardware is easy. Developing software is a pain in the butt. Okay. I put this computer right here together for $1,200, and I saw it for $3,400 listed, pretty much exactly the same thing, to buy whole. So it's a lot cheaper to put it together if you know what you're doing rather than just go buy one. Do you think our D-line will finish in the top 5 this season? Ooh, Amber, I tried. We discussed that earlier. I actually talked to JMV yesterday, day before yesterday.
Yeah.
I think it was yesterday about that, and I got to see it because in all honesty, we got a bunch of unproven guys. We got a bunch of guys who have not been here consistently. Teray just, has been a guy who's been injured a lot. Banagoo has, the only time he's ever flashed, is this training camp. In the 3 years that he's been on the team. We got a bunch of guys who are just unproven and have not been consistent. I got to see them show it consistently before I think that our D-line is going to move up rather than move down. In all honesty, I was like, we got a really young, inexperienced defensive line. And our big guys are elsewhere now, the Houston and Autry. So, until they prove me otherwise, I can't say that they're going to improve over that. I hope, but.
Would you agree with this statement? I believe that at the beginning, like right after the draft and stuff, that you and I both felt like there was going to be a drop.
Mm-hmm.
And now I would be willing to say that we see that there is potential for this D-line to stay the same or even get better. So I guess if that helps at all as far as giving an answer, we went from, this is our D-line's definitely going to lose in their in their performance. There we go. We've gone from thinking that the D-line was almost a guaranteed drop in their performance to now, like you said, now we see some of the flashes and stuff of what we think might be able to help maintain, if not improve.
Absolutely. Now, I got to get to a donation that just dropped, and I'm opening up my thing so I can see the full donation chat because Mr. Matt Stansberry is paying to put my kids through college, and I need to make sure that I can read what he says. Appreciate the $10 dub in the donation box, Matt. Thank you so much. Says, with Autry and Houston leaving us 15.5 snaps and 47 pressures in the hole, or 15.50 snaps. I think you're talking
sacks.
Yeah, I think you're meaning sacks in the hole and 47 pressures in the hole. He says snaps, but I'm assuming that means sacks. And with each playing 61% and 59% of the snaps respectively, what Colts players will replace that loss and hopefully add to it? Sorry I junked you before. Here is an extra penny because it was $10 and a penny. Because oh, dude, you're so funny. I love it, man. I love you guys, man. Sitting here, this is what makes talking football so great. Because you guys, we just sit here and chill and talk, and I don't have that at home, okay? My wife don't watch football. My son don't watch football. I tried to get my son into football. He's a skateboarder. I have no regular friends that do it.
Yeah, skate or die, man. I was a skateboarder when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I loved it. Yeah, but that's it's not that much different, really. It's not that much. Actually, I think that should be a drill for certain positions.
Yeah. But, yeah, I don't have any friends or family, to talk football. So this is my outlet to football. Sitting there talking with Loyalist and Joe and all you guys here and those of you who decide, like Matt Stansberry here, who's going to plan on buying me a new car one day. But I appreciate it, man. Right? When will they see? Oh man, my truck has no air conditioning. It's awful. Uh, especially on those long drives to go, and you're like 90 some degrees and like 89, 90% humidity. And it's awful. But at least I could roll the window down. Did I just? Yeah, I just did the whole,
Yeah.
manual rolling a window down. Like that happens anymore.
Oh, yeah.
You just lost 60% of the people watching. Going, what's that symbol?
Right. Oh, you can tell how old I am because I'm talking about rolling a window down. Oh, jeez.
But with the question, would you say that I don't think that there'll be any one or two people replacing. I think that the Colts defense between the rotation, I think the rotation is going to be a little heavier this year because of how young we are at the end. Would you agree with that?
I think it's a great thing. To be totally honest with you, I was a little shocked when they doubled down on defensive end this year in first and second round. I was really kind of shocked at that. They didn't try to even, but I guess they didn't have anybody on their board at that spot or whatever. I was, to be honest with you, I was kind of hoping Leatherwood would have dropped because I think he could have plugged in on that offensive line and been because I had him on my board for Pittsburgh, so I get it. But I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing to keep your pass rush fresh. It's almost like a running back by committee type of situation, in my opinion, with that. I think that's a really good way to, particularly when you get these pass rushers young, because if you look at the metrics of how running backs' careers go and how pass rushers' careers go, they sort of follow the same arc in terms of production. So I think that's a really good thing. That's one of the more interesting things I think about the Colts defense this year. And I really want to see how that plays out with Banagoo, Teray, Deo, Pay. I mean, that's a really kind of a scary mix if you can keep these guys fresh.
Yep. Especially with the way you've got these guys going from the outside to the inside and the inside back to the outside. We got Tyquan Lewis, Isaac Rochelle, we got Al-Qadim Muhammad, we got Dio whenever he gets out here is going to be able to go inside or outside. So yeah, I mean, these positions require, as soon as that ball is snapped, these guys are full throttle, 100% nonstop. So to sit there and like DeForest Buckner, watching how they were using him in San Francisco and how many snaps that guy got was just mind blowing. You know what I mean? And if I'm not mistaken, the Colts reduced his snaps a little bit, but his production elevated. And I have to believe that's just because he's just that much fresher and that much, he has that much more energy and that much more pop off the line, in the third, late fourth quarters.
Well, his question right here legitimately kind of goes in with that. He's sitting there talking about, respectively, they had 61 and 59% of the snaps because they were, they were part of a rotation, right, on both ends. And the Colts will continue to do that. Who do I think will take their specific spots in particular? I think Kwity Paye will be probably the first and second down guy on one end, and I think that, in my opinion, the first and second down on the other end will be. My brain is not working.
Tyquan Lewis.
Yes, thank you.
Tyquan Lewis.
Yeah, I think it'll be Tyquan Lewis, and then I think when the pass rush comes, when it's third down or second and like 15 or something like that, you might see Teray come in, or Muhammad or someone like that, that has a little bit more oomph, But that's my thought. Hey, Truitt, Matt Stansberry, I see you guys sitting there talking about the caps. I will say I have no problem with caps because I understand some people have a hard time seeing. Okay, and caps just makes it easier when you're like looking at a phone or something. You know what I mean? You get older, it's harder to see. or not even older. Maybe you don't have your glasses on right then, and you just can't see very well. So I'm not too big on the whole caps thing. When I see it from somebody who's just doing it all the time, then I kind of generally understand what's going on. So I'm not, if you need caps to be able to see what you're typing, I'm all good with that, man. But Stansberry says it was either this chat or the BTJ chat, the draft that I called doubling down if they didn't take a left tackle. I was all good for that as well. I was cool with it. I would have been surprised, in all honesty, if they would have picked, some of the things that other people were talking about. I didn't think that they were going to grab. I was rooting. In the late second round, there was a guy that I was hoping for, but the Colts didn't grab him, and he was there, and he ended up going in the third round. But, I'm okay with who they grabbed. So, it's all that matters. Stansbury says, I keep forgetting about Lewis. Yeah, Taekwon was solid coming in for Danico Autry last year. Taekwon actually played better than Danico Autry in the second half of the season when they replaced him. So...
And I feel like Taekwon is better at generating his own progression, whereas for me, Danico was more of the cleaner guy. He was the one that sort of, just kept his guy under control and shedded him and, did the cleanup work. I think Taekwon has got the ability to actually put a little more individualized pressure on his guy, in my opinion.
So we were talking about Dio a second ago. Wentz season's in here. Thanks for being in here, Wentz season. Appreciate you. This person's everywhere. It's on Twitter. It's on Colts forums, everything.
Yeah, they work. That person works hard.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what their name is, but that person works hard.
All right. So they said, I wish media would ask more about how Dio Odangbo recovery is going. Loyalist, you were there today. Did you see anything from Dio? I'm sure he's had street clothes on, but was he even there?
No, like I said, I don't believe I even saw him out on the field. Saw some of the guys like Big Q and stuff coming out a little later. I think they were probably in there doing a little bit of rehab and stuff, but I haven't really seen a whole lot of Dio, as of the last week or so. So I don't know exactly if he's off doing work on his own or if he's just getting a bunch of medical, stuff. I don't know.
Stansbury wants to know about either Davises. Did you see anything from them? One of them didn't show up today, right?
Actually, at first I thought it was. But no, they were both there and they were both dressed. Like I said, really, guys, as far as the secondary, Rock flashed a couple times, Isaiah, but I mean, Kenny Moore, he looked really good out there today. But as far as anybody else, nobody really popped off for me. I mean, I did look for those guys, but there again, didn't really see a whole lot from either of them, to be honest.
They're in here talking about Eason being QB2 right now. How confident are we with him as a QB2? And I have been saying all training camp, I think you just keep giving him snaps, keep giving him experience, let him, learn. He's only got 2 years of college under his belt before this season. He didn't get any kind of practice snaps or anything last season. So the more snaps you get him, the better he's going to get. And the faster, you're going to see him improve faster because he's only got 2 college seasons. And both those seasons were with different teams, right? One with Georgia, one with Washington. So, I mean, literally, the last 3 times he's taken snaps for a team, it's in with 3 different teams. I mean, come on. Give the man a little bit of room. I think he's improving greatly. It's funny how local media now is on the Eason train. They seem to have kind of slid off the Ellinger train the last few days, and now all of a sudden they're like, Eason's looking kind of good. I've been saying that the whole time. Just give the man a little bit of time. The more practice he gets, the better he's going to get. There's a problem with this, though. He's getting all these snaps. He's getting all this connection with all the wide receivers. He's getting all this connection with the offensive line. He's getting all of this. Week 1, Wentz starts. Wentz has none of that. Eason does. That's a problem because Wentz is going to start. They're not going to start Eason over Wentz. They've already said it. Reich says, I don't care if I can't remember who it was he said. He said he don't care if Eason comes out and throws 450 yards and 4 touchdowns. When Wentz is healthy, he comes out and starts. Because he's their guy.
Yeah, but this goes back into this whole entire debate about the economic investment in a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're paying somebody $28 million a year, you're going to put them out on the field regardless. Well, and the same thing with Ben Roethlisberger.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're going to start this guy because we're paying him $40 million a year. Okay. So,
well, and for me, I mean, Carson, I mean, don't get me wrong. I am very pleased with everything I saw from Eason. And really wasn't even too disappointed from what I saw from Ellinger today. I mean, it was a lot of check down, a lot of short stuff. I mean, the only pass I saw that was more than 15 yards was there was a jailbreak. He did this sort of fade back thing where he was already going to be sacked. But he released this really beautiful pass to, I think it was Farrod Green. But the thing is Carson still offers so much more upside than either of those two, okay? I mean, not just with his arm strength, but he's got the mobility. I mean, he's sort of got the best of what everybody's liking about Ellinger, and he's got what everybody likes about Eason, and he's a nice hybrid combination. You know what I mean? So, and
he's
I mean,
got the
I know
experience.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know Eason's a second-year player, but I'm going to call them both rookies. You know what I mean? So, Jacob, if you're listening to this, don't take it personally, man. But, I mean, they are. To me, they're both rookies. They both have not taken a regular season snap yet. You know what I mean? So, guys, I think that Eason is giving the coaching staff a little bit of peace of mind, a little bit of, okay, we don't have to rush out and get us a veteran, quarterback and spend more money on that position. And I honestly think that, if Carson's ready week 1 but doesn't get the practice reps, like that was the big thing for Coach Reich whenever he was talking to KB on the morning show was he's like, he really wants these guys to get in a decent number of reps. So, maybe week 1, maybe Carson's healthy enough, but they, doesn't get enough practice in or whatever. Maybe they ride with, Eason and see what happens. Like I said, I just think it's just giving them a little bit of confidence and a little bit of breathing room for what the situation is.
Okay, so I'm reading chat right now, and I'm just laughing so hard on the inside at some of these comments. But I agree. Eason's given a little bit of, kind of peace of mind for the coaching staff and for, fans, obviously. Wentz does go down.
Sir.
We got someone that can come in. What I want to see is Eason play lights out all preseason. If he does that, whether it's first team, second team, third string, it doesn't matter. Play lights out. I want to go back and see all these national media guys that sat here and said the Colts are being stupid for not going and getting, this guy or this guy or this guy. I want to see them eat crow. And it's not going to happen because they don't do that.
I'm going to say it. Nick Foles.
Right.
Okay, so to circle back on that argument, Carson Wentz has had reps under Frank Reich's philosophy.
Yeah.
At the pro level, at a very high level when he was almost he was trucking for the MVP, And so he has had these first team, right? He has had that experience. So I feel like in a way, you're right. You're right about, Eason kind of taking snaps away from Wentz and all that stuff. But the main issue with Wentz, resting his foot and getting his footwork correct, we talked about that in depth, about how I feel like that's why that injury may have reappeared, is because now he's starting to push his body to the point where he can get his footwork right. But he's already had reps under the system. to a point. I'm not exactly, but I mean, developing chemistry with your guys cannot be understated. I'm not gonna say that, but I think he can pick that part of it up a little bit quicker because he has had, off-season reps with a lot of these dudes.
Yeah.
So
Not with
to
pads
me-
and stuff on, but yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm not going to give the whole name here, but Mr. Freely says that Eason is the future. By the way, thank you, Freely, for joining. Appreciate you being on here. Don't forget, guys. We're an hour and a half in. Wow, it doesn't feel like it's been an hour and a half. Don't forget to smash that like button, hit subscribe if you're not subscribed, tag that notification bell so that you're notified next time I go live. J567 about had me choking on my Mountain Dew when I read this. It says, I was about this hyped and in 2019 before Luck quit on us. He was not a Luck fan, I think. Yeah. Eason, though, I think Eason is going to be fine. My question is, are we going to keep 3 quarterbacks on the roster?
Oh, I think for sure, especially the first couple weeks. Okay, but honestly, didn't we keep 3? Didn't we keep 3 quarterbacks? I mean, because you got the whole COVID protocol, and if one of them tests positive, you need to have, So I honestly believe the Colts, with COVID, with the Carson Wentz and the injury, I don't see how they couldn't keep 3 quarterbacks on the roster.
Well, like who was it on here? Yeah, Stansbury says last year was COVID, and you had to have 3 quarterbacks for COVID, and that didn't even help Denver, right? I mean,
yeah.
Denver ended up having a wide receiver playing quarterback because all their quarterbacks were down with COVID. I mean, because it happens. Now, COVID's not as big of a deal this year as it was last year, I think, now that we got a lot of stuff going on. A lot of ways to combat it. We know a lot more about it. I don't want to get into the COVID situation because, that's more of a political thing than it is a football thing. But anyhow, now they're talking about whether or not Luck left or quit. I don't want to get into that either because that's 2 flips of a coin.
I will tell you right now, I'm more hyped about this team that's getting ready to suit up this year than even what Luck would have been coming back to in 2019. Because this defense, Ballard has done amazing work with these guys in the last 2-3 years.
Yeah, and 3 quarterbacks is smart for the Colts, J567. I agree. Wentz isn't necessarily known for being able to start every game of a season. He's done it like once, So now last year he didn't get hurt and miss. He, that was a whole, you got benched.
Mm-hmm.
But he had a year before where he went the whole season, and then like the 3 other 3 seasons, he left due to injury. So,
plus, like we talked, a month ago or whatever, I could see the Colts having a particular set of plays for Ellinger. You know what I mean? So like if let's say Jacob's our starting quarterback, okay, and we drive the ball and we get down there on the 3-yard line or whatever. I mean, let's remember, how hard is it to sit there and stop whenever you've got a quarterback who can just simply walk it straight into the end zone? You know what I mean?
That's tough. Okay, so let's say you're at the 3-yard line. All right. I would rather have Eason's cannon to get the ball into a tight situation than trust the arm of, wet noodle quarterback flying through the air in such a small, compact area to get the ball in those tight spots. Okay, but at the same time, to your point, I get that you could run those RPOs with Ellinger, and then he can make a split decision, which he seems to be very good at reading a defense. making the decision whether or not to hand it off or to just take off the gut with it as well. There's an argument for both cases, So I get where you're coming from, though.
Yeah, and also let's don't forget that Ellinger has shown himself to be really proficient with the short outside passes and stuff. Which there again that you would want in that situation. So no, I'm not saying put Ellinger in and take Wentz out. But if we find ourselves in a position where Jacobs out there, I think it just gives you that little wild card, or fourth and short, maybe in the middle of the field. But how Coach Reich, he sits there and he decides, okay, this is a net gain loss to punt the ball, so let's put Sam in there and let's give him that other piece of the puzzle to sit there and worry about.
Yeah, well, slants on a short field cannot be understated. On a short field slant pattern, it cannot be understated. So that's my concern with Ellinger mainly, is how quickly, because that's a quickly developing route. How are you gonna, if he's still, how are you gonna call a slant on a short field with a guy like him in there? Yeah. Or are you going to call that at all? So how do you stack your personnel on the outside to compensate for that?
Okay, but if you get everybody filling out the flats and stuff, that opens up your interior. Now all of a sudden you've got an opportunity for Ellinger to take a step back, look, if it's not there, boom, hit a much weaker box, on the interior. So I don't know. Like I said, it
depends on the
that's
play
the
call.
thing about and that's the thing about the Colts. We got choices.
Yeah. Yeah, it would also depend a lot on what the look the defense is giving you, stuff like that. Matt Stansberry says option C, you could just close your eyes and throw it up in the air, and 10'7" Mike Strawn will come down with it. Or
let's not forget about Mo Alley Cox. He'd be real good.
Mo Alley Cox.
Yeah.
Completely forgetting about the tight ends in this whole stream. The only thing that we've talked about really is Kyle and Granson, and we got Jack Doyle and Mo Alley Cox on the field. Not to mention, dude, I'll tell you what, that four-string tight end has really been showing up the past couple weeks.
Farrod Green?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, he has. I mean, he's had to. Let's look at it. There's been numerous times where he was the number one choice at tight end.
Mm-hmm. But he's been doing it, and I'm kind of impressed with him. He's another guy that I would not be mind having him on a practice squad. I don't think we're going to carry more than 3 tight ends on our roster, though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if we do, then we're only going to carry 5 wide receivers, and I don't see it only carrying 5 wide receivers either.
See that happening. That's a deep group you've got. And by the way, on that note, I do have to apologize to Loyalist, because now I'm looking at different things, and I'm like, Patman. I was all on the Patman train this week. But I think you're right. I think Strawn is gonna be eventually a much better option than Patman. In terms of, and not just in terms of special teams, but somebody will give Patman a job if he does get cut. I like what I've seen from him, but you guys, ends are so deep on that position group right now. I would not really want to carry 4 tight ends.
What's funny, and we talk about this, we're so deep, and yet what was listed as the number 2 most important thing for the Colts? Some people were saying over pass rush, we needed wide receiver because our wide receiving core, we didn't have a number 1 wide receiver. We don't have a good wide receiving core. And that is so BS. I knew better now. I was saying from the get-go, our wide receivers are better than you think. They just haven't had the opportunity, Yeah. And that's exactly what it is. They just haven't had the opportunity to shine.
And something else that sticks with me on this Patman thing is I remember last year when he got picked up, the statement that stuck to me was, Patman's a big kid, okay? But even the Colts, even Patman said he's got to learn how to play big because he's not used to playing big, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I didn't understand it, you know what I mean? But I watched him play, and you've seen that, he sort of shied away from the contact. Now this year he's doing better. But the thing is with Strawn, I mean, he's been showing it day in and day out, and it looks like it comes to him more natural. I feel like Patman is better at following I guess what I'm trying to say is Patman is more of, okay, he can follow the script, but when he has to go off script, that's where I give Strawn leaps and bounds with much bigger advantage in the 5-6 wide receiver battle.
Right. And, to that point, too, like what Lawrence was saying, you look at Paris Campbell, he hasn't really had a chance. That was one of my concerns with the Colts coming into this season, but pre-draft is I'm looking at, you got all this cap room. Hey, well, why not even talk to a guy like Will Fuller? Why not talk to a guy? At least talk to the guy. Somebody who can just be that can opener on the outside. If you're going to get, and then they got Wentz who can bomb it. If he gets his footwork right, that guy can bomb it. So can Eason. So having that combination on the outside with a quarterback who can just zip it down anywhere pretty much. I mean, that's if Campbell can stay healthy, if he can stay healthy, I think you've got it.
Yeah, because it's not just Campbell. I mean, between Campbell, Strawn, and even Pittman, Pittman Jr. can be a deep threat too. Now Ty, he could still do it, but he's getting to that point in his career, as a wide receiver where you're going to start seeing more of a drop off at that, deep edge stuff. But
and I'm a big Notre Dame fan, but I'll tell you right now, people started talking about Will Fuller. All I could keep remembering is how many games he's missed each year, and I feel like, okay, you got Paris Campbell if Paris is healthy. Then you add, oh man, I didn't even want to sit there and have that headache. Worrying about, okay, are you down 2 receivers, for 5-6 games out of the
year? That's a great point, buddy. That's a great point.
Yeah. Well, last year the Colts had all kind of injuries at the wide receiver position. T.Y. Hilton missed 4 or 5 games. Michael Pittman missed 2 or 3 games. Campbell missed the majority of the season outside a game and a half, right? I mean, we had, that was where we were just completely trashed, was there. And then, of course, Marlon Mack on the offense. And now it seems like I haven't seen any wide receivers or running backs get hurt this preseason.
Oh, I knew you were going to do that.
But hey, I'm not saying no. I don't believe in that stuff.
Yeah, that's good.
We've had injuries. In training camp, right?
Yeah.
We've had Darius Leonard go down. We had DeForest Buckner go down. We've got, our quarterback go down. We've had our, the best offensive lineman in football right now go down. That kind of stuff. Matt Stanberry says, knock on effing wood now. I don't believe in that kind of stuff because it's going to happen. I look at it. The Colts have injuries every year. And it's not just the Colts. Every team has to go through injuries at specific, positions. It's not always the same position, though, You might end up kind of light on the offensive line because of injuries, like the Cowboys and the Eagles were last year, right? You might end up being light at wide receiver like the Colts was last year, or you might be the Niners who lose 3/4 of your team due to injury throughout the season, It happens.
I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to get everybody to show up here on the next stream after a wide receiver gets hurt. All of a sudden, we got 1,500 people here talking about how you jinxed it.
Well, whatever it takes to get their butts back there, then that's that.
Share that.
All right, yeah. Ant Rogers says that MPJ just needs to stay healthy. He was healthy other than that calf injury, and then he had to have surgery. And then that surgery on that calf injury, they messed it up, and he had to go get surgery again, and that's why he missed 3 weeks. But other than that, he was healthy, and it wasn't even that important. He could have played on it. He could have played with that calf injury, but the Colts organization said, let's nip it in the bud now and early so it's not something that'll cause problems long term. And I am on board with that each and every time. Just like, You know, it not only allows you to play better when you're on the field, but later on in the season, it could end up turning into something worse. So I would rather have that done. But and improve his release off the line, especially against man versus man. He says, I'm going to say coverage, because I don't think I'm sure that Michael Pittman Jr. jibber jabbers with the cornerbacks. He converses with them because he's blocking them downfield all the time. But yeah, there he goes. He says coverage right afterwards. But yeah, I get that. I get he's not the quickest off the line. He's also a big, heavy dude too.
Yeah.
And he's like 6'5", like 220 or something like that. He's not a small dude, and his takeoff isn't the greatest. But also, it's not always what you do on takeoff. That has a lot to do with the speedy receivers. Your big-bodied receivers is more on how you make your cuts in the open field to get open, and Michael Pittman is a clean cut route runner, which helps him out a lot.
Yeah. He's also got that blue collar mentality. So I mean, he's battling. I mean, straight off the snap, he's just battling against some DBs. And like I said, Pittman's not somebody who's going to sit there 3 yards out of dust. I don't. That's not his game. His game is get position to muscle you out a little bit, and then create that separation, like you said, with quality route run. And then after he catches the ball, that's when he's going to sit there and go, all right, this is where I'm making my hay. The yards after catch is what I'm hoping to see from Pittman this year.
Yeah, that'll help. I mean, I think your yak yards are going to be big this year. Huge.
Oh, I agree. I mean, you get Pascal, Hilton, the Pittman. I mean, no doubt about it. He's got that capability. So I mean, the only real true can opener I think Yins have is Campbell, and it's not that no, for my part, like no team has two of those guys. No team has two of those guys because they're so highly sought after.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be really important. And what that is going to do, to be honest with you, that is going to make every tight end you have on your roster, that is going to make their life a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. Because it'll open up the middle of the field.
And I think T.Y. still has the ability to be that can opener type of player, like you said. I mean, T.Y. has shown that, he's still got that spring in his step.
He does. He didn't show up really too much in practice until this past week, though. But it is nice to see him. And again, he's getting that reps and that connection with Eason, but he's not getting it with Wentz, and that's a problem. I hope they are able to remedy sooner rather than later. Guys, I've almost 2 hours now, and I am going to have to call it soon. I think I've done a great job. I think this has been a great stream. I might as well put myself back on here. Ta-da! Yeah, I was. my wife is napping, and I get loud sometimes when I talk to Colts. So she went in there and laid down just a few minutes ago, and I don't want to keep her up any more than what I probably already will be, because it's going on 10 p.m. Eastern now. I'll probably be up for a little while, but guys, I got a question. Should I run a reaction stream Saturday's game or not? Because I'm curious. I tried that a little bit on Sunday, but I don't know. And the problem is, Bring the Juice runs it too, and Bring the Juice ends up with hundreds of people, and they bring in most of the Colts fans. And if I do it at the same time they do, I don't want to compete with Bring the Juice. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I'm friends with those guys, and it is what it is, and If I'm on there, if I'm doing a live reaction as well, then you got people kind of torn. Do I go to Colts Law? Do I go to Bring the Juice? Blah blah blah. And I don't want to put any kind of separation there between me and them. But at the same time, you guys out here that are in the chat, well, what do you think? Should I or should I not? Matt Stansberry says, smoke another one instead. But let me know, guys. I'm going to end up killing this. MJ567 says that it seems more like BTJ's thing than it is mine. I didn't do it last year. I enjoyed doing it this past Sunday, but it is what it is.
I can answer that question for you. After we, after we get input from chat and whatever. But
yeah, and I won't be much help because I couldn't hear anything, watch it very much being at the game, so not a whole lot of help.
Fuzzy Whistler says, I like Bring the Juice as well, but they're rarely live. It's mostly, uploads. They go live when they do the live stream reactions to the games. They do that a lot. Well, they do it when the games are on with larger.
Now, do they invite people on there, or is it just him and Derek, Cody and Derek?
Actually, it's not wise to do a reaction with people when you're not in the same room or watching the same stream, because you're going to watch the game at different times. This person might be watching a play and it'll happen 2 minutes or 3 minutes before the other person is going to see it, and they're going to jump up and go, "Oh my gosh, blah 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 blah," and the other guy's like, "I have no idea what the heck's going on." You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
So
I will give you some of my thoughts about that after we.
Because I like to listen.
I've been in the media. I know how this works, so I'll share a little bit of.
Okay.
But yeah, I do that. I had that problem with trying to listen to Nate and stuff, talk, do the play-by-play. So I have to turn the volume off of the TV just so I can, I still like listening to their side of it.
Yeah, yep, I get you. I'll probably go live after the game. How's that? I could do that this Saturday. Go live after the game for a post-game reaction. I think that's something that would go well. All right. So guys, keep an eye open for me. It's Saturday night already. It'll be midnight before I come on or something.
That's what I was getting to remind you. Like, you may want to wait until Sunday morning or something.
Yeah, do it Sunday.
Yeah, we could do it Sunday. All right, guys.
You got nobody listening.
Right. Everybody's going to be all tuckered out. Even if we win, they'll be all tired and ready to go to bed. So, all right, guys, I'm going to jump off here. If I do a post-game reaction, we'll do it at like 10 a.m. or something, when everybody's doing their pre-game shows or something, or 11 a.m., Eastern Standard. That way people can actually, get in, talk about it before, Sunday action happens. So until next time, appreciate you, Joe, for joining tonight. It's always fun having you on.
You know it, brother. I hope I always add something to your show.
Oh, you always do. Always do. Always love your input, man. Everybody in here in the chat, please don't forget to smash that like button. Hit subscribe if you're not subscribed. Tag that notification bell so that you're notified next time we go live or upload a video. And Loyalist, thanks again for going to Colts camp and giving us the information on what happened.
I've loved it, man. Appreciate you letting me do it.
I ain't letting you do anything. You do whatever you want.
Well, let me share. I get to go, but otherwise I'd just be sitting here like you talking to my family, and my son's just now getting into football. So.
Absolutely. All right, guys. I'll talk to you guys later. Until next time, I'm Lawrence Owen. This is Colts Law, and as usual, have a good one.
just because a player's not a household name doesn't mean we can't make him a household name.